Today's topic is about the most common mistakes partners make when they speak. But before we get into that, there's something you all need to know. As you know, AI is evolving faster and faster these days. And honestly, I think it's not long before we even have AI housekeepers in our lives. I actually brought a video to show you. You really need to see things like this for yourselves. That way you'll start to feel a sense of urgency and want to change instead of thinking, no way, that kind of era will never come. But trust me, it's happening. Take a look at this. Look at this. Look at the fingers, the details on the fingers. Can you see that? Isn't it amazing? Look at how it moves. Right now, you know Tesla, right? Elon Musk said that the problem with robots is that the detail in the fingers is really difficult. But that company, it's actually a Chinese company. A Chinese company uploaded this video showing off the detailed movement of the fingers like that. So the pace of technological advancement is coming very quickly right now. That means our jobs are gradually disappearing. That's why we need to quickly find tools like Atomy. You might think, could it really happen that fast? But if you look at history, you can see the answer. That's why I keep saying that I need to pursue innovation leadership even more strongly, that I need to push myself even harder. Think about Europe for a moment. In the past, what did people use to fight wars? They used swords, bows, things like that. So what needed to be good? People with strong muscles and good physical strength had the advantage in war. Nobles would ride horses, for example. But do you know what changed this quickly? If you look at history, there was an event where infantrymen armed with firearms shot down the nobles on horseback, just bang, 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 and wiped them out. That was a huge shock. People realized, wait, that commoner, that former slave could actually kill a noble with this. They wiped them all out just by changing one tool. And if you look at European history, even though they had 100 years of history and gunpowder weapons, there were still people who relied on their physical strength. Why didn't those who fought with bows and spears adopt it? Pride. I have a strong body, so why would I use a weapon like that? Am I crazy? That's not real warfare. Because of their confidence and pride, they looked down on it. But after that incident where the infantry went bang, 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 things changed quickly. They realized this isn't right. Something's wrong. When you get hit with a real sense of crisis, people are bound to change. For example, everyone. Atomy is a network marketing company, right? But more and more other companies will start to appear as well. If we just get complacent, other competitors will show up. If we don't grow, we'll eventually disappear and be left behind. So what do we need to do in order to grow? We have to keep changing. That's why I want to say this. Atomy established its network marketing company in 2009. So it's been 16 years now. It's been 16 years, but what was it like before that? The education system, it's still the education system now. It's right that we should focus on education. But how was it back then? We kept opening more centers and gathered people at those locations. So even just 6 years ago, there weren't enough seats. So even if I wanted to invite beginners, I couldn't because there just weren't enough seats. It was really hard to bring people in. But then what happened? The COVID-19 pandemic happened. So what happened because of COVID? Everything changed drastically for the first time in 10 years. But what happened to the people who quickly adapted to online at that time? They survived, and they did even better. But what about the people who said, I don't like it, I don't know, it's inconvenient, if I just wait, it'll be over soon, things will go back to normal soon, and just waited and stayed complacent? A lot of people failed. So just like I mentioned with European history, within Atomy, there are people who managed to come back to life, but there are also those who didn't make it. While the company keeps moving forward, people are constantly being replaced. So the question is, what era are we in right now within Atomy? But it's not just about Atomy itself. Before looking at Atomy, you have to look at the bigger market as a whole. Who is going to become bigger? Now, we're moving into an era of influence, personal influence, individual capability. In the end, people who have become personal brands, those with a lot of memberships are the ones who become celebrities, not just in Atomy, but everywhere. Even now, people with many YouTube followers are appearing on major public broadcasting channels like NBC. Why? Because they already have a loyal customer base. So what happens when those people appear? They're going to watch the broadcast, right? because they have fans. The fans. So in the end, even within Atomy, I think now is the time to develop your individual capability. That's why I actually want to talk about innovative leadership. What does that mean? Simply put, it means you have to become a rebel, a loyalist. Being a loyalist is great, but being a loyalist is important. But when it's not right, thank you. Boldly rebelling against something new, that's what it is. When you're taking on something new, you have to do it boldly. But even for me, when I think about it within Atomy, there were things that the Imperial said not to do. But in a way, there were times when I went my own way like a rebel. What I mean is, I was told that it would be better if I didn't do YouTube broadcasts. And I was told not to go to New Zealand. At that time, I just went my own way as I pleased, honestly. Why? Looking at my own environment, in order to survive, I didn't have any votes. My parents didn't give me any votes. And it was really hard to get people my age involved. So to survive there, I needed to come up with a marketing plan. But back then, how many people my age could actually go there and listen for an hour or two? So what did I do? I was the first person to create a 15-minute marketing plan on YouTube. Why? Because when I was out in the field, nobody would listen to what I had to say. So what did I realize while facing things head on in the field? People don't listen to what I have to say, do they? But surely they'd listen for at least 10 to 15 minutes, right? I just asked them to spare me 10 minutes of their time. I told them I'd share something that would benefit them as consumers. And with that, I thanked them. I became the first person to upload a video explaining the marketing plan in just 15 minutes. Through that, people got to know who ㅡㅡㅡ is, and I was able to introduce Atomy to New Zealand, a country that most leaders did not even pay attention to because it was so far away. In a way, thanks to COVID-19, I was able to connect everything online, and for the first time, real partner leaders from Atomy emerged in New Zealand. So in a way, you could say I was a rebel, not a loyalist. They told me not to do it, but I said, I'm going to do it. I went my own way like that. But in the end, I also understand what the Imperial Master was saying. Why? Back then, the Imperial Master also tried going overseas, but it was really tough. So if my partner could have done a little better, if they could have made it without struggling so much, why? If things go wrong, you might just quit, right? So I completely understand those feelings. But even so, I still thought this was the path I had to take, so I went for it. But since the results turned out well, what happens now? They acknowledged it. They said, you did a great job. So what I want to tell you all is this. There are plenty of ideas out there. There are so many ideas in the world, but what's really important is who actually puts them into action. That's why so many partners ask me questions as well. I have this idea, and that idea, I want to try it this way and that way. What do you think? A lot of people have asked me that. Do you know what I say to them? I have my own experiences, you know. The thing is, I haven't tried what the other person is thinking about, so it's hard for me to judge. I just don't know. It could go well, or it might not. Even if it doesn't work for me, it could work out well for them, because I'm just speaking from my own experience. It was me who brought this path to YouTube and online, not Imperlim. Imperlim didn't do that. So because he went through a lot of hardships, he told me not to do it. But since I also had that experience, I realized that if I say the wrong thing, I might end up killing someone else's good idea. That's why I always tell people to just try it no matter what. Go ahead and give it a try. But now that I think about it, I keep telling people to give it a try, but no one has ever actually done it. The important thing is, people give me lots of ideas, but when I tell them to try it themselves, not a single person has ever put their idea into action except for me. So, in the end, what does that mean? That's why I am still running my influential brand, the Atomy YouTube channel, as ㅡㅡㅡ. I'm just going to keep following my own path. Why? Because by watching me, someone else might come up with an even better idea, and maybe someone will become a sort of rebel and create something even greater, generating new synergy. But when you hear the word rebel in terms of innovation or technology, you think of robots. So if the existing jobs disappear, what happens to those people? They end up losing everything. That could even lead to a war, right? But is there any chance of a war happening in Atomy? At the end of the day, they're still my partners. So what I want to say is, let's take that idea of innovation and change our way of thinking too. We have nothing to lose. If you have a good idea and something just If that happens, it's still within our downline anyway, right? That just means things will go even better. The company's image could improve and the brand could grow even bigger. I also believe that even better talent will be drawn in. That's why I keep talking about the ideas I've come up with and the things I've put into action. Because we need good people to keep joining us. You get what I mean, right? So, can I do it this way? There are people who have asked me, is it okay if I do it like this? I'll tell you everything right here. Go ahead and do it. If you share those good things with us, I might even learn something new from you. So you all need to change your old-fashioned mindset. It's not about thinking, I'm the only one who's good. If your partner has something you can learn from, you should learn from them too. You understand what I mean, right? Now, today we're going to get into the main business content. There are people like this. They asked me, Charlotte Rose Master, I heard there were people who were really passionate and worked super hard, but why did they quit? That's the question they asked me. So I told them this. There are 4 reasons. First, direction. Some people quit the Atomy business because they couldn't find the right direction, even though they worked hard. Second, counseling. Sometimes when you counsel someone, the sponsor might deliver the message accurately, or maybe not. But even if it's delivered accurately, the partner might not understand and end up quitting. It depends on the situation. But I'm telling you about these 4 things. Third, action. There are many people who just keep listening and then worry about it on their own, just thinking about it in their heads. But most people don't actually take action. They just keep worrying in their heads. And fourth, perseverance. When I think about it, I've been communicating a lot with my new partner boss lately. And during our recent meeting, they said this to me. Sharon Rose Master, after listening to your story, I realized that you went through a lot of trial and error within Atomy, but you never gave up. That's what they said. Isn't that right? Honestly, if you look at me, I should have quit a long time ago, right? But I'm still here. So in the end, what does that mean? Because I'm still here, what happens to my partner CEOs? I end up becoming a leader who can guide them on the right path. In the end, the most important thing is this. Don't forget those 4 things. Direction, counseling, action, perseverance. I might not have met this personal sponsor. But even so, as you go through that process, you'll find things to be grateful for in that as well. Why? Because you develop an eye for recognizing good sponsors. So thank you for your hard work as well. If you keep thinking negatively, there's no end to it. But if you keep thinking positively, you start to realize just how big a difference that mindset makes. Especially in our Atomy business, the number of people keeps increasing, so if you only focus on the negatives, you won't be able to endure. You have to survive in order to nurture your partners, right? But if you start to waver, then your partners will be swept away like a typhoon. So you need to have the wisdom to be able to endure. You also need to take good care of your physical health. And everyone, this business is all about duplication. So what I mean by pulse is that you have to grasp the pulse well. But if you can't, then even if you work hard, you won't really understand what's going on. But the reason I keep talking about this is because I went through that experience myself. Even if I repeat this over and over again, people's thoughts, environments, cultures, and personalities are all different, right? The moment when it really sinks in is different for everyone. Let me say it again. This business is about duplication. You need to duplicate the simplest things. Think about it carefully, everyone. Duplicating the easiest thing. If I asked you to give a lecture like I'm doing right now, how many of you here could actually do it? There probably isn't a single person who could do it exactly like me. Why is that? Because I have my own experience and skills built up, right? But when it comes to just sitting together and listening, is there anyone from their 20s to their 80s who can't do it? Everyone can do it. That's why we need to create a lot of beginner entrepreneurs. Isn't that right? This is consumer marketing after all. So why is the very first and easiest thing to guide people into the system? Because we need to duplicate what's easy. You understand, right? If you just say, let's go to the seminar haphazardly and keep saying, let's go, what do you think will happen if you do it that way? The other person won't understand. They'll say, why are we listening to the same thing again? That's what they'll say. If you look at it that way, I've already been hearing the same thing for 8 years. But why do I keep going? In the end, it's because the core of network marketing is duplication. The speed of someone who just vaguely understands it in their head versus someone who truly feels it in their heart and keeps showing up on site without missing out. 3 years, 5 years down the line, their progress will be completely different. Do you get what I mean? Honestly, you do better just sticking to seminars, like I did. My partners say this to me. They say, wow, Sharon Rose, you've got it made. That's what they say. So what do I say to that? Where else is there a business like this? Where else can you make money from a system that keeps working for you even while you sleep? Well, that's another kind of vision, isn't it? I keep sleeping a lot because I'm just so tired. So everyone, back when I didn't realize this was a business of duplication, I didn't go. Why? Because I'm actually good at a lot of things. Whatever I do, I tend to do well. So I really didn't want to go because I felt like it was such a waste of my time, but it just didn't work out. But when I started going, now there are 130 business partners, left and right, even in New Zealand saying, I want to succeed in Atomy. There are already 130 partners attending the seminars. So the number has increased tremendously. So in the end, what was the reason for that growth? That's what I realized. My parents and I, after we clearly understood the reason why we shouldn't get caught up in that system, that's when things started to grow. You all know what I mean, right? So in the end, if I don't realize it myself, my partners won't increase. You get what I'm saying, right? So next, now what you all need to do is this. You've heard it, right? Then now you have to tell your partners. But even if I explain it like this, because it's so long, you still don't know what the key point is that you need to say. So I realized, I'm not really getting to the core of it. That's what I realized again. So even though I'm working hard, it just feels like I'm grasping at straws. That's why I thought, I really need to point things out clearly. So now you understand what duplication is, right? So what comes next? You need to think, can I do this too? But as you listen, you realize, oh, Atomy doesn't have any membership or maintenance fees. Then I can do it too, right? That's what you're thinking, right? But there's one more thing you need to consider. What is it? Even if I can do it, can my partner really succeed too? Think about this. This is the most important point. For system income, your partners need to keep increasing more than you do. That way, even if I'm sick and lying in bed, the system will keep running, right? You understand what I mean, don't you? So even when people work hard at Atomy, they're missing the most important point. They only think, can I do it too? So what happens? They end up thinking, oh, I can't do this. They don't know what they should be passing on to their partners. Do you understand what I'm saying? After thinking, can I do it too? You need to ask, can my partner really do it as well? I think my partner can do it too. Then you need to tell your partner, you can succeed as well. Right? But what do people usually say? Even though my partner should be saying it, they say, sponsor, I can't do it. And can I really succeed? When someone says this and you respond, you can succeed too, what exactly should you say? What you need to tell them is that since there's no sign-up fee or monthly maintenance fee, if someone is good at global sales, well, if that person says, I can't sell, or I can't introduce products to consumers, or I can't give lectures, or my circumstances aren't right, they'll say things like that, right? Then you need to respond accordingly. For example, boss, I don't have any money. Then since there's no sign-up fee or monthly maintenance fee, you can just keep saying, there will definitely be people who are better at global sales or giving lectures than you, boss. But you've heard this so many times, right? But do you know what's really important? The problem is that you only hear it in your head and don't actually say it out loud. So new partner bosses ask me, why did those people who were so passionate and worked so hard end up quitting? The reason is that they understood it themselves, but didn't actually say it out loud. You have to make sure the other person understands it too. With Atomy, it's not enough for only me to work hard. Your partner also needs to understand it so that it gets passed on quickly, and everyone gets fired up. But these days, the people I personally manage progress quickly. Why? Because from the very beginning, I make sure to drill it into their heads. So when they pass it on, what do they say? Because they only pass on what I say, things run smoothly, but problems arise with people I haven't directly touched. So this time, one of my partner bosses is a bit older. So they said this to me. Oh, dear sponsor, my direct sponsor, the one who introduced me, is working way too hard. So they kept asking me to help their direct sponsor succeed. They spoke with such earnestness. Really, it's true. Sharon Rose Master, it's really true. They said their sponsor is working so hard. Please help our sponsor. I really hope things go well for them. They kept saying this to me. So I said, of course, absolutely. Don't worry. That's what I told them. But do you know what's important? That person said just one thing to me. Do you have to do it like that to be a business person? That's what they asked me. So everyone, what did that partner boss ask? In the end, what did they see? Their direct sponsor is working so hard. So what do you think they were thinking? Seeing that, I think, I can't do it like that. I can't keep up like that. I'm older, so I can't do it all day, 24 hours a day, like that. Huh? For 3 days, I can't even say these things. So that's what I'm worried about. But I want to succeed. Do I really have to do it exactly like that to succeed? That's the fear, right? So everyone, what does that mean? The mid-level leader couldn't really pinpoint the key point, but fortunately I met them at the seminar. And what did I say? I told them, boss, don't overthink it. I thanked them that day. That person left with a smile. When Imperlum does the follow-up, what do they always say? Half-baked, meaning even if I can't speak well, someone who can speak well will show up, right? But do you know why you need to attend this seminar? If we're like frogs in a well, just sticking with our own small group, we only see that limited perspective. You end up not being able to see other environments if you only look at your own direct group. There are times when you can't do as well as those people. Then you start to think, oh, this isn't something just anyone can do. That's exactly what happened to me when I failed in Indonesia. I went in planning to open 100 centers, so everyone was just looking for business partners. So I just kept looking for people who would invest more. So what do you think the other Indonesians watching all this thought? They probably thought, wow, that person can do it, but I can't. That's why it didn't work out. So because I realized that very clearly, I understood that this wasn't a real vision. I realized that if it requires such extraordinary ability, then it's not really a vision. So that day, the Imperial Master talked about this. They say that if you keep failing, it's a miracle. But what does it mean when they say everyone can do it? He kept talking about how there are no membership fees or monthly maintenance fees, and right next to him was someone who could barely speak and had only contacted one person. But through that person, things are now booming in China and Hong Kong. When people who are great at giving lectures and really talented start coming out, that person will watch from the side and leave with hope. So I said, boss, did you see that? Under a boss whose mouth is as heavy as 1,000 pounds, someone who just can't stop talking will eventually show up. That's what I said. But then a chatterbox really does appear. When I said that, he left laughing. So in the end, everyone, that's exactly why you need to go to the system. If you only look at a few people around you, you start thinking, I can't do it like that person. That feeling comes up right away. But when you go to a big seminar, you think, wow, even someone like that can do it. Then you realize I can do it too. If my partner doesn't succeed, that would be a miracle. Because of this, you absolutely have to keep bringing people into the system. You understand what I mean, right? I know it might seem really simple to you all, but because I once failed in Indonesia for that very reason, I really regret that lost time. Why? Back then, I did go to the seminars because I knew they were important, but I didn't really take them seriously, so we just did things among ourselves. That was the problem. We thought we were smart. We thought we were capable. So wanting to do things comfortably and in our own style, we just did it our way. That was the issue. So I think the real and only reason why Atomy is a place where ordinary people can truly become wealthy is because the company has that system in place, and I'm so grateful for that. It's that you can hear the success stories of people in your upline and crossline. You know what I mean, right?